Hey, do you want a really powerful leveling build for Sorceress that just one-shots bosses? Yeah, here it is, very optimized, fast clearing speed, with a bunch of interesting tricks to maximize our damage. This build will take you straight to the endgame and maps. But as always, every leveling build starts in Act 1. That's where you will get your first weapon. It will be magic stuff, and every magic weapons come with a skill that tied to this weapon. Our first skill is Fireball, and it's pretty good. But the skill only affects one single target. Therefore we need some ways to defeat crowds of enemies, and the skill that you will get in tutorial area is Spark. That's lightning skill that you can use to attack multiple enemies, and it can apply shock condition to the target, forcing it to take 20% extra damage, or even more if your shock got more magnitude. While you can use same skill combination from here straight to the endgame, it's actually not very efficient. So right after tutorial area, when you arrive to clear a fell, you will get uncut skill gem. That's the skill gems we can use to craft skills ourselves, and the first skill we want to craft will be Contagion. Also in pinned comment you may find this shopping list. It will highlight every items that can be useful for us, like items with level to all spell skills, as well as armor pieces with bonuses to maximum life. It's better to stack life when you are in campaign. Therefore don't worry about energy shield too much, it's better to have a lot more armor and life. Now that's how we will tackle basic packs of monsters. Apply Contagion to one monster and then start shooting them with Spark or Fireballs. Contagion is damage over time debuff, and when enemies dies, it spreads this debuff to nearby enemies. While you are in this area, don't forget to find abandoned stash in abandoned camp. This will guarantee you another uncut skill gem level 1, and I will use it to create first bomb. That's one of our main and most important skills right now, especially when we're talking about defeating bosses. So this skill will detonate after a little bit of time, but most importantly, while it detonates, it creates pulses, and these pulses apply exposure to our enemy. This forces enemy to take extra damage. Add shock condition on top from our lightning spells, and we're already almost doubling our damage, which is completely insane, especially at this point in the game. So just grab quest item for permanent cold resistance and you can move to the next area. Because in Grelwood you will find this little hut. There will be upgrades for your flasks, but also a rare monster. Defeat this rare monster and get guaranteed support gem. I will use it to craft Unleash support gem for my Contagion skill. Now Contagion can generate up to 2 charges, and now when casted it will unleash multiple contagions to clear areas even faster than we already can. This setup will give us ability to easily clear next areas, but actual power comes from skill levels or spell levels. Basically at this point of the game, if you're playing martial classes, you're looking for these refined arms and you're getting upgrades for your weapon. This will drastically increase your damage. But for us it's not the case, we're looking only for one specific modifier, and it's called plus level to all spell skills. It will be on your wand, it can be on your focus in offhand, or it can be on your staff. Right now we're fighting in monster level 5 area. That's the level where you will start finding this level to all spell skills upgrades from monster drops. Also, when you reach level 5 yourself, you may find these weapons in the shops in town, so make sure to take a visit, because these shops will refresh every level up and maybe you will find upgrades there. I will highlight a row that will show exact breakpoints for levels where you will start looking for upgrades. Basically at level 25 you're looking for +2 on your wand or +3 on your staff, because staff is two-handed weapon, so it got better bonus. You can get the same bonus while wielding wand and focus, and that's upgrade levels for focus. It's level 10 and level 41 for +2. Later in the game it's really important to look for weapon upgrade, but right now it's fine if you just find any other stuff, and it could already have some spells like Fireball or Lightning Bolt, and this level up of basic skill will technically work as level 2 this specific skill and will give you nice damage for early campaign. Anyway, at this point we'll use all our arsenal of powers and just spam bosses with all the skills, because this Mr. Rust King will drop uncut skill gem level 3, and it's next tier of spells. And while at this point you can technically create any skill you like, I recommend to level up with Essence Drain instead, for these early levels. It's another damage over time debuff, and basically you drop contagions and drop Essence Drain, it starts to spread among all enemies, and also it spreads both debuffs, which will melt screens in seconds, and you don't even need to fight monsters, you can just apply these debuffs and run away. It's super nice and smooth leveling in early game, but we won't have access to loads of chaos damage amplificators, because we're playing as Sorceress, not as Witch, so don't worry, we will become Elemental Mage Nightmare, but a little bit later. For now, don't forget to defeat Rotten Druid in one of the next areas, because he drops Uncut Support Gem that I will use to create a rapid casting support for our main skill, which will be Essence Drain in a second when I level up. You will get one more guaranteed support gem from this monster in Asinia's Tomb. From this support gem I will create Magnified Area support for Contagion to increase its area of effect. Essence Drain and Contagion at this point, in my opinion, a lot better than Spark, because it's super easy and straightforward, and it's more reliable, because Spark just fires in random directions. Also, to improve damage of Spark, we want to have Flame Wall, so Spark goes through Flame Wall, getting extra fire damage and stuff like that. You can do same stuff with Essence Drain Contagion, but it's not needed. Also, Essence Drain and Contagion will benefit from support gems that will be used on our next most important and main skills, so this build is optimized around these interactions. But later, when you find one more skill gem level 3, you want to create one more skill. This skill will be Orb of Storms, and it creates big orb that will fire lightning on nearby enemies. When you cast skills inside the orb zone, then you will apply these lightning effects a lot more often. And this will be insanely good boss melting tool. Basically, it will apply shock more reliably and constantly on bosses while we firing with other main skills. So we applying Essence Drain, Contagion, we dropping our Frost Bomb and then Orb of Storms, and that's how we deal with bosses at this point. And at this point of the game, you just don't need to change anything. Just run, roll from attacks and do your skills. Eventually you will find boss in Frey Torn, and this boss, King of the Mists, will drop you permanent bonus. It will give you your first spirit, and spirit is used for buff effects that will passively work. From Uncut Spirit Gem we will craft Arctic Armor. There's other options like Mana Wisps, for example, that will give you more mana regeneration, but you can just pop a bottle, use flask and restore your mana. But Arctic Armor will constantly give you nice ice protecting shield, and it will save you from loads of deaths, since mages are pretty squishy. Eventually you will find a little bit more uncut support gems, and that's support gems for our main skills right now. For Arctic Armor we're using Control Destruction and Freeze, but it's not main priority. Make sure you have Overabundance and Unleash on Orb of Storms. Yeah, you can take Unleash from Contagion later. And for Frost Bomb we're using Magnified Area, also taking from Contagion later. And Potent Exposure, which will increase power of exposure applied to targets. Overabundance on Orb of Storms will give you ability to create 2 orbs at the same time, because there's a limit to some skills. Now we can apply shock more reliably. At the same time, our exposure is super powerful, and you will start melt bosses a lot faster and easier. If you got some good items, well, you will melt them super fast. But if you don't have really good focus with +1 level 2 all skills, you can use Skeletal Scepter in your offhand, as you're seeing right now. Basically, enemies will take care of your skeletons and you will be ignored. So it helps when you're trying to go fast through areas or don't get one-shotted by bosses. Anyway, after defeating Executioner, you will save Lattice, and after you talk with her in a town, she will give you guaranteed uncut skill gem level 5. But make sure to clear next area as much as possible, because that's where these gems start to drop. Because to finally get rid of Essence Drain and Contagion, we need 2 skills. That's the order of priority. Main skill will be Ember Fusillade. It's pretty interesting skill, you press and hold the button, create bunch of little fireballs and then unleash them. The next spell will be used for clearing, and it will be Arc, which is basically Chain Lightning, if you ever played any other fantasy RPG games. For support gems on these skills we will use Rapid Casting and Rising Tempest on Ember Fusillade to cast faster and deal more damage, and Unleash with Rapid Casting on Arc to shoot multiple arcs at the same time and do it faster. That's how our full combo will look like. We create Orb of Storms, starting doing Ember Fusillade and then let it unleash and deal pretty nice chunk of damage. Combine it with Frost Bomb and enemy will be exposed as well as shocked, and you will defeat him in basically like few rotations. It's super powerful, especially for this point in the game. Magic of this combination is pretty simple. Basically, orbs will shock the target and also deal some damage. At the same time, you will apply exposure with Frost Bomb that will make target take even more damage, and every time you're creating lethal fireball inside of Orb of Storms, you actually remove charges from it and it will disappear, giving you electric charge, or how it called in the game, lightning infusion. You will instantly grab it and all your Ember Fusillades will be augmented with lightning effect. You're seeing on the screen right now, they're not just basic fireballs, they actually lightning fireballs, which is insane and powerful at the same time. So yeah, maybe it's not very impressive what you think on the screen right now, but actually I'm fighting him with level 1 wand without any level 2 all spell skills and without almost any armor pieces. Yeah, that's how powerful you can be, and with +2 level 2 all skills, you will basically 1 or 2 shot him, and will be ready to go in Act 2. But let's talk about our passive skill tree first. So passive skill tree in Act 1 will look like this. We're taking all spell damage nodes, all elemental damage nodes, and taking a little bit of spell damage that you think on top. That's basically it, and that's how most players will play mage, especially when leveling. Just spam increased spell damage, increased elemental damage, and that's it. But in Act 2 there will be a bunch of changes to our build, especially in passive skill tree, that will optimize our build to very powerful state. You can check my build act by act, my passive skill tree, support gems and skill gems in my Mobalytics, link in the pinned comment, so you can check it over there pretty easily. But technically in this act there will be almost no changes beside elemental weakness. It's level 7 gem, so you need to level up a little bit and you will be able to use the skill. I'm using it with heightened curse and magnified area, so that's the support gems, and this skill is basically resistance remover, and at the same time it stacks with exposure, so you can make enemies resistance negative and they will take extra damage from your elemental skills. At the same time they will be shocked, so they take even increased damage. And that's what makes this build really powerful at this point of the game. It kinda helps you even if you have bad RNG on gear. But what makes this build magnificent? It's passive tree. Yeah, it's super finely crafted, and I will explain it right after we talk about Ascendancy, because in this act you will challenge Trials of Secumas and get your Ascendancy points. So, there's 3 Ascendancies currently, and we will go for Stormweaver. And don't forget, you can change Ascendancy later, so we're taking Stormweaver just for leveling, but later if you want to play Varashta, you can easily change your Ascendancy in next Trials. Right now we want to trigger this Elemental Storm by picking those points. It will create these little tornadoes every now and then, which will add extra damage in our fight. Again, helps because our damage is not that crazy if we take just one single skill, but if we use all skills, it adds up. So finally, what makes this build magnificent, as I told you, is passive skill tree. And look at the passive skill tree by the end of Act 2. You will see there's green and red lines. It's weapon set number 1 and weapon set number 2. I calculated where and when you want to pick these points, and you will see this in progression of our character. Rules here are pretty simple. We're using one weapon set to increase our elemental power, basically our spell power, and second weapon set to increase power of our exposure and also of our curse. And as you can see on the screen right now, it will basically start to melt bosses, with completely enormous damage even at league start, without perfect equipment. Coolest part that right now we can use these weapon sets just with one single weapon. So yeah, if you find good one, you don't need to change anything and you don't need to look for another good weapon. But if you're a beginner and don't understand how these weapon sets work, make sure to watch beginner's tutorials that will also be in a pinned comment. I'll explain how weapon sets work and all other important stuff for Path of Exile 2 over there. This setup will help you to go easily through Act number 2. That's where you will be able to unlock more sockets for for your skill gems. And I'm adding Consider Casting to Ember Fusillade for more damage, as well as Cursed Ground for my elemental curse. It will create Cursed Ground and you don't need to wait while it will be applied to your enemy. I changed bunch of supports on my arc skill, and I'm using Deliberation and Consider Casting for more damage, still using Unleash to unleash multiple arcs. This will slow our casting speed a little bit, so I recommend to run around and use multiple skills in a rotation to have full power and full potential of this combo when you're clearing screens. Also, you will drop more support gems, and at this point we can add support gems to our Elemental Storm. I'm using Magnified Area, Prolonged Duration and Elemental Focus, basically for more damage, more area and for more duration. Main point of this act will be when you hear Aktapuktak, and that's the fight with this fire boss. So when you defeat this lady, she will drop you extra spirit, and I use the spirit to craft siphon elements. Now when I ignite, when I freeze or when I shock targets, they will drop these little infusions. And this is very useful for our arc spell, because it can also be infused with lightning, and this will force it to take more jumps and also deal more damage. So you're running around, you're shocking targets, and also you will clear a lot faster because your arc will become more powerful. Also in Act 3 you can attempt Trials of Chaos, and if you defeat them, you will get more points for your Ascendancy. These points will be used to increase our critical hit chance and also will give +2 limit to all elemental skills. Now we will create even more balls, even more Ember Fusillades and deal even more damage. Yeah, bosses will melt, bosses will be shocked, bosses will be ignited, and it's basically it. So yeah, build is kinda done, but still you need this spaghetti passive skill tree. That's how it looks like in the end of Act 3. And yeah, right now it's a lot more fleshed out for more bonuses to our exposure skills and for our basic damaging skills. Since we're doing a lot of separate mini attacks, it's really smart to invest into critical hit. And when you defeat this boss in Act 4, he will drop you a bunch of liquid emotions. You can combine them by using Paranoia, Greed and Ire and use on your amulet to increase your critical hit chance by 25%. If you manage to critical hit a lot, that's what your boss battles will look like, especially with good weapons. Yeah, you basically 1 or 2 shot them. Later, when you unlock more spirit, you can forget your ice armor and instead use elemental conflux. It will increase damage of different elements, and if you're lucky it will increase damage of your fire attack, and this will deal a lot more damage. But even if it triggers more lightning attack, it also works, because your fire attack infused with lightning will deal nice lightning damage. But basically you are set up for success. That's the list of all support gems and skill gems I used by the end of the campaign, so you can just copy them, or again you can check guide on Mobalytics. Also here's the full passive skill tree by the end of campaign. Weapon set number 1 will go only for all spells, and weapon set number 2 will go for our elemental weakness and also for frost bomb to increase our exposure effect. That's it. This build is super nice, optimized and powerful, and will set you up for a nice mage playthrough, no matter you're playing Varashta, Chronomancer or Stormweaver. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more content.